Shalom, everyone. I changed the order of the two sections because I think that first we should talk about the person being called up to the Torah, then we'll talk about the reader. And so, although every person recites Birkot Torah in the morning, as we learned a few months ago, and the Chachamim established that those called up to the Torah recite the blessings again before and after the reading, so as to instill a feeling of divine reverence and awe in the heart of the one who is called up, and in the hearts of the listeners, and also the idea of the love of the Torah, because we say that we are thanking Hashem for choosing us and giving us the Torah. Originally, the minhag was such that only the first and last people called up to the Torah recite the blessings. So on Shabbat, it would be like more than half an hour between the two. The first person called up would recite the first blessing before the Torah reading, and the others called up would not make a blessing. The last person called up would recite the final blessing after the conclusion of the reading. And so, if you want, I'll just compare it to a meal. Not everybody who comes to sit at the table, if we're all sitting down together, makes hamotzi. There's a leader who makes the hamotzi at the very beginning, and at the very end we have mezuman, and we can either say it individually or say it together. Either way is okay. And so I think that that's the idea. If a mitzvah goes on for longer, you can have a beginning and ending of a blessing without necessary in the middle. And subsequently, the Chachamim established that each and every person called up to the Torah would recite the blessings before and after their portion is read. The Chachamim were concerned that perhaps someone would enter the synagogue in the middle of the Torah reading and would not have heard the blessing recited by the first person called up, and would think that no blessing is recited before the Torah reading. Therefore, they established that each person called would make a blessing before their reading. Furthermore, they were concerned that perhaps a person would leave in the middle of the Torah reading, since he would not hear the last person recite a blessing. He would think that there is no blessing after the reading. Therefore, they established that every person called up would recite the blessing at the end of his individual reading, and that's how it's the law in Megillah 21b. The fact that the Chachamim instituted blessings before and after each reading demonstrates the importance of Birkat Torah. And just to review again, there's other things we said in the comments last week about why do we close the Torah, roll the Torah closed in order to say the blessings, again, because the rabbis were concerned that people would think that the blessings are written in the Torah. And also other things. I think there's something about Gal Israel. We can discuss it again later. It's about the fact that we think that maybe Hashem is only choosing certain people and not others. So all of these things, even though today maybe it's not a concern because everybody has Sidurim, this was already established as the law, and that's how we do it. During the reading, the person who is called up must read each and every word quietly along with the Torah reader, since he is the one who recited the blessing of the Torah. If he does not read it himself, there's concern that his blessing will have recited in vain. But of course, we don't say la'asok b'divrei Torah, which is to study it, because we're not studying, we're just reading it in order to fulfill the obligation of the community. In extenuating circumstances, even a person who does not know how to read or a person who is blind can be called up to the Torah, despite the fact that it is the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch not to call up a person who is incapable of reading the written words along with the Torah reader. Nevertheless, the Ramah rules like the lenient opinion, and even in Sephardic congregations, it has been customary in extenuating circumstances to act leniently regarding this matter. So I don't know if you've ever been to a Shabbat Chatan in a Sephardi shul. Shabbat Chatan is actually the Shabbat after the wedding in the Sephardi custom, and so they call up almost all the men in the community if they're comfortable, and they only repeat like 3 or 4 verses over and over and over again. So I think by the middle you probably already picked up all the words, but some people, are just guests who came for the first time in 3 months to shul, and so we don't embarrass them and say that you must read the Torah. So the way of the actual reading of the Torah, like somebody mentioned last week, is with the cantillation signs, with the Trop. And so we'll explain, and then we'll show an actual diagram of how it looks. So the Torah is read with cantillation signs, that is, in a melody which suits the meaning of the words being read. Since the cantillation signs are not written in the Torah scroll, the reader must learn the signs that accompany the reading by heart, and it really is Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah, not written Torah. If there is no one present who learned a particular portion with cantillation signs, another person may look into a printed chumash with the signs and whisper them to the reader so that he can read from the Torah with the proper melody. If no one is able to read the Torah with cancellation signs, it is permissible b'diavad to fulfill the obligation of Torah reading without them. But still, you have to make sure that the actual punctuations and what we call vowels and dots do have to be said properly, and that's why it goes on to that explanation. It is necessary to be meticulous in the reading of the Torah. If the reader errs in reading a word such that the meaning of the word is changed, he must repeat it properly. So I'll just give a very quick example. If somebody reads the word chodesh, which is spelled chet dalet shin, with a cholam chaser without the vav, he reads it as chadash, even though the idea of chadash is the reason why we call Rosh Chodesh, and they are supposed to repeat it and say chodesh instead of chadash. But if a person says lach or lacha, and because a lot of times in the Torah, feminine and masculine are interchangeable, or who and he, um, it's who meaning for masculine and he for feminine, since there's only 7 times in the Torah that he is written with a yud instead of a vav, and that does not have to be corrected. And so, however, for a mistake which does not alter the meaning of the words, there is no need to repeat the reading. So let's look first at the tamim, and then we'll go back to the reading here. Sorry, wrong share. And they have a very beautiful Word document chart. Okay, so I made it as big as possible. Please tell me if I need to make it bigger. I mean, it is possible to make it bigger. So the most common Trop is Sof Pasuk, the end of the verse. That's a little line. There's only one like that in any verse. There can't be more than one because we never stop in the middle of a verse except for 2 times. One of them is actually in this week's Torah portion where we say Vayhi Acharei Magefa, but it's not a Sof Pasuk. It's Nachta. It looks like a little yarmulke. And so Etnachta also is supposed to only be once in a verse, but sometimes um, for necessity it is more than once, but very, very rarely. So Sof Pasuk and Etnachta are the most common ones because there's only one in each verse. Merchat Tipcha looks a little bit like parentheses, and Tipcha Merchat to separate, meaning that it's not 2 words that are connected, but rather like almost like a comma. And I think that the tipcha really does look like a comma. Ma'apach, pashta, zakef katan, or zakef katon, are also very common. The middle, in terms of rarity, are kadma ve'azla, and they sound like kadma ve'azla. And then munach, revia. Revia is what's called a melech, like a king. So in terms of that the phrase ends there. So there's a beautiful idea of the Gaon of Vilna, of the Vilna Gaon, that says that when Judah, the 4th son, came to Joseph at the beginning of Parshat Vayigash, it's Kadma ve'azla revia. So he came forward, the 4th one. That's how the Parsha of Vayigash starts. Vayigash elav Yehuda. So just to explain how it stopped, and so it's not the end of the sentence. It's just we are emphasizing that word that has this little diamond above it. Then there's the darga and tvir. So those also are pretty common together. And then the last in terms of rarity are zakef gadol, pazer, tlisha ktana, tlisha gdola, azla geresh, which is only the backward of the azla, gershayim, munach zarka segol, and yativ. And even the rarest are shalshelet. There's only 6 of them in the Torah. Karnei para, there's only one. It's in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks in Parshat Matot. It's in Parshat Masei. There's Karnei para and Yerach ben Yomo. That is only one time in the Torah. Merchak Fula, there's I think 4 or 5, but Shalshelet, there's only 6. And so I'll just give you an example of what Shalshelet means, because this is in English. If I can find the right page. Yeah, it's right here. So the Shalshelet, it says here the following. This point is well illustrated by the rarely used Trop Shalshelet, a roller coaster ride of 15 notes. I remember it as being 3, but it's like it looks like 3 triangles, one on top of the other, so maybe 6. So in Genesis 19:16, the first time, it talks about Lot being hesitant to leave his home in Sodom and Gomorrah that is about to be destroyed, and it says Vaitmama, and then again the same one for Abraham and Isaac when he's about to slaughter him. When Eliezer goes to find a wife for Isaac, it's also Vaitmama. No, so it's not Vaitmama. It's sorry, this is a mistake. It's a different word there, but it's about how he was so surprised that the Rebecca was available, and then by Ma'en and by Ishchat, and there's 2 other times that are not in the Torah; they're in the Nevi'im. So let's go back to the right. So Rabbi Herzl is correcting me. So there's 4 shalshelos in the Torah and another 2 in the Nevi'im. So let's go back to the Peninei Halacha and finish that paragraph. Pretty yeah. No, wrong one. Sorry. Oof, sorry about that. I did not expect this to take that long. Let's just finish the paragraph. So the Torah reader reads with the cancellations, and so just to explain how it became that we have a Torah reader instead of everybody. Initially, it was customary that each person called up to the Torah would personally read their portion. For that purpose, everyone would prepare the whole weekly Torah portion. Alternatively, the Gabbai would plan in advance the order of the people to be called up and notify each of them so they could prepare their portion ahead of time, and there are Yemenite Jews who still do this. However, from the time of the Rishonim, the majority of the congregation became accustomed to appoint a Torah reader because they couldn't afford a book to prepare the reading with the cancellations, and since you're not allowed to write in the Torah, there wasn't any other way unless you started writing a whole scroll of it. Today, of course, we have what's called Tikkun Korim. The one called up recites the blessing on the reading before and after, and the Baal Korah reads the Torah. This way, people who do not know how to read are not embarrassed, and also somebody who thinks that he does know how to read it is not insulted if they don't ask him to read it, because there isn't that option. So we'll stop here.